Hi guys, it's Kerri-Ann and I'm back with another video on a card making project today, and I'm going to be using the new stencil from Imagine Design Create. So this is one of my designs for the stencils. So it's called Shooting Stars, and you get the sort of the texture stars here, you get the large star, and then you also get the shooting star element there. I'm also going to use Tonic Studios the Nuvo Glimmer Paste in, this one is Silver Gem. I'm going to be using the Nuvo Embellishment Mousse in Pure Platinum, the Nuvo Crystal Drops in Liquid Mercury, the Nuvo Hybrid Ink in Black Shadow, and the Nuvo Brush Pen in 127, which is the grey colour. So I'll just move those slightly to the side so I can get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in some of my matte and layer card. Obviously matte and layer card is something that I use all of the time. You'll find it in pretty much all of my videos. I very rarely talk about it actually because it's just sort of my go-to thing. I've got a whole stash of it in all the different sizes sat on my desk. So if you don't know about matte and layer card, it's pre-cut card in squares from 110mm up to 175mm. You can get individual packs or you can get a multi-pack. It's on the Imagine Design Create website and it's soon to be launching on TV as well. It's a 300 GSM quality card, it's a smooth cardstock, and you'll see in all the videos it's good for mixed media, it's good for watercolouring, you can do stamping on it. It's one of those card surfaces that you can pretty much do anything on, and it takes the abuse as well. It's a really tough card. So if I haven't explained in other videos, that's what I usually tend to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is something that I have done in one of my recent other videos. It's using the mousse for more of a sort of background subtle finish. I'm using a clean sponge, really important that you always use clean sponges, and then I'm just going to lightly go over some of the stars to create a background. Now I'm being careful on this time not to go over the edge too much, because I want the background to be quite subtle. In a previous one I didn't mind going so close to the edge because I was going to go over the top again to sort of give it a brush over effect, if that makes sense, which is where you go over once in the same colour and then go over again in the same colour and it will still stand out the stars. But for this one I'm not going to do that, I don't think. I might do the edges, but I haven't got planned to go over, although I think in the original sample where I did this project I probably did do that. But I'm just going to go for something a little bit different. As you know me, whenever I'm doing the videos I tend to change up what I'm doing slightly mid-video, which is what happens when you're filming. So I'm just rubbing through the embellishment mousse, and what you'll notice is where the areas are slightly thicker you get more of a defined finish to the stars, and then when they are softer you get less of a defined finish, and I really like that about using the mousses. I also love that they're sort of pearlescent as well, really love the pearlescent of the mousses. So I'm just coming in to do some over here. These stencils are fantastic stencils. They are a good quality polyester film, so similar to Mylar, but they're good quality. They'll take all your mediums, and I mean I use and abuse my stencils and they've been lasting ever since we got the original samples for each design, which is over a year ago now. For most of the designs that you're starting to see, we've actually had them for at least a year. So they go through a lot of testing, and I do use them for workshops. If you're local you will have possibly seen them in workshops that I run here, because obviously you guys get to test them first. So that's that bit done, and that creates the sort of sheen effect for my background. So I'm pleased with that, a sort of a mixed media-y effect. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring in the shooting star, and I'm just going to place it around there, and I'm going to use my pen and I'm just going to draw through a stencil. So the original use for stencils, really, this is what as a child you used to do, you used to just draw through stencils, so why don't we? Let's start drawing through the stencils. And I'm just using this grey because it coordinates well with the theme that I'm going through, the grey theme. So you'll see there, works really nice to create that background. If you're worried about getting the mousse on the end, just give it a clean in between, but you'll see that it's, you know, it's pretty much dry anyway, so it's not disrupting my pen there. And also the pen works really well going over. It sort of, it resists in a sense, but you still get to see that the line is there. So if I show you again once I finish this, and you'll notice I'm not doing the dots for this, I'm going to create my own dots with a Nuvo. So it works really well to create that look, so I quite like that The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my Dream Big stamp, and this is from the Reach for the Stars set. I'm going to use the Nuvo Hybrid ink pad to ink this one up. And always remembering when you're using inks on these sort of larger stamps, it's important to move all across the stamp, because if you just do it in one area, or if you just press a couple of times in the same place, you're likely to miss areas. And again, if you're not confident at stamping, use your stamping platform, you'll find it much easier. So there we go, you can see it's stamped over the mousse there, and I quite like how it's still, you still get that sheen, but you do get to see the Dream Big. Okay, so that's that part done. So that is really the main part of what the background is going to be for this card. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in just a plain piece of card, and I'm going to grab the stencil, and I'm going to use the main element of the stencil. I'm going to use the star. Now I have lost my normal palette knife, so I'm just grabbing an old rusty one, which is what I tend to use more for mixed media, but I can't find where I put my other one. So I'm just taking a bit of the glimmer paste out. I'm not going to tape it down with masking tape, though you could if you wanted to. And I'm just going to run it through the stencil. If you are new to stenciling, or if you're a nervous stenciler, I highly advise using a bit of masking tape to hold it in place. You'll find it much easier. Okay, so there it is, really easy and simple to spread through. I'm just going to lift that up, and look how perfect and beautiful that is with the glimmer paste. Now what I wanted to show you is another technique where you don't waste the outer part of the leftover glimmer paste on the edge. But the other cool thing about this is also that you could just scrape it off and put it back, but this is sort of, it gives you another effect. So take a piece of foam or sponge and just start to rub the excess into the stamp. So what you'll see is a sort of a foiling effect. Now I'm just going to bring in any leftover and bring it in and just sort of foil. So all I'm doing is quick round motions, and it's just grabbing at the surface. So I'm just going to come in. Now if you wanted to, you can either leave it like this with a distressed star look, or just add a bit more just to the side. You don't have to do this. This is just another idea of how you can use your glimmer pastes. And just bring it in, and just little round circles. So this is also a much quicker drying process. I'm just going to dab in any extra bits there. It's much quicker because it's not so thick. So I'm just dabbing in any extra that I might have left on here, dabbing it through. So if you want a quick dry version with your glimmer paste, then there you go. It's sort of, as you can see, it's foiled, and it's going to be really fast drying. And it's foiled that section. So the two differences, hopefully you can see. I'll see if I can show you better. So you've got the thick star and you've got the foiled star. So same paste, two different effects. So once those have dried, they will look a little bit like these here. And this one is the foiled effect one, and this one is the glimmer paste one. So I don't know which one I want to use. I think I'm going to go for the glimmer paste one for this one. So I'm going to bring my background back in now. I'm just going to grab some tape. Let's see if I can grab a bit of tape from here. And I'm just going to pop some, this is the foam tape, the raised up tape. I think I put a bit too much on there, so I'm just going to snip that back again. Excuse the rustling. Lots of drawers in my tables. If you want to see what my craft room looks like, there are some videos here on my YouTube channel where you can see a nosy round my craft space. There we go. So I'm going to lift up the star points a little bit just because it gives it a bit of depth. So there we go, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how that's looking. And then I'm just going to bring in the Nuvo drops. You could probably laugh at me. Kerri, you're always using Nuvo drops. And I probably am always using Nuvo drops. So I'm just going to put a few little drops here. So I haven't warmed this one up. This is actually quite cold from being left in my house doesn't actually have central heating. When I moved here, it was all floorboards and it's just the sort of the old-fashioned wall heaters. We got rid of those because they were too expensive to run, and I had planned on getting central heating before I got carpets. And then when they told me it was £20,000, I decided actually I think I'll just use blankets. And so my house is generally cold. The boys have to wear socks and blankets and extra layers rather than having any form of central heating. We have little pull-around radiators and we have a log burning fire for the winter. But yeah, if it's just a generally cold day, then you will just have to layer up, I'm afraid, in this house. So to warm these up, if you want them to come out a bit better, you can just sort of roll them around in your hands. Jodie has this amazing technique of sticking it down your bra, but the other thing is sometimes I just pop it up my sleeve and just hold it to the warmth there of my arms. So sometimes if I've got a Nuvo drop stuck in my sleeve, that's just me warming it up. So what I forgot to do, which I'm just going to do now quickly, is add a few of the stars. So this drop down star is from the what's it called, Star Mix set, and I'm just going to do one star there, and then I'm going to make the next one a little bit longer. I'm going to do it like that. And again, stamping over the mousse, and you still get a good stamping effect, but you've got that lovely background. And then what I would do is finish off more Nuvo drops just there, and I'll bring in now one that I have finished, so you can see that one there. Hopefully you can see that. And then this is the one that's finished and matte and layered, and on this one I did choose to do the over brush technique or the over smudge technique with the mousse, so it's a real subtle soft finish from the stencil there. So hopefully you can see how pretty and shimmery that one is. So hopefully you found this one useful. As always, if you've got any questions about any of my crafty products, do feel free to get in touch. Please do subscribe to my channel, it's really useful to know if people are watching, and comments are always really lovely too. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy crafting!